Yamina, Carl from Purple Moose Plays. Today I'm going to be taking a look at another game from Japan. This is the Tableau Building Engine Builder Resource Management game Firm with Brownies from designers Shun Aya and publisher Yanoman Games. However, this is actually a remake of a previous game from the same designers Shun and Aya that they had previously self-published through their own company Studio GG called Goods Maker. And it's actually through these designers that I found this game. I recently heard of their newest game that just hit Tokyo Game Market Spring 2023, My Toroko Town or My Trolley Town, and through that went sort of into a spiral of Shun Aya games, and this is only going to be the first of their games that I'm going to be bringing to the channel, so definitely keep your eye out for more of them. But for right now, we're going to be taking a look at Firm with Brownies. Now I should mention this is also using the Shokai Kenshu expansion because the solo rules are actually included in the expansion. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the table and then when I come back up here to let you know what I think. No disclaimer needed this time because I did purchase my own copy of the game. But with that said, let's head down to the table to see how the solo mode of this game plays, and then I'll meet you back up here to let you know what I think. To set up a solo game of Firm with Brownies, we'll start by building the market. And to do that first, we will take these 5 light-backed building cards. Just to give you an idea, these are the darker backed building cards. Starting with these 5 cards, simply turning them all face up and laying them out in a row like this. Next, you'll take that deck of darker brown building cards, give those a nice shuffle, and place them off to the right side of that row as a draw deck. Next, separate the goods cards into level 1 and level 2 like this. Starting with the level 2 cards, giving them a shuffle, we'll start a second row of 5 level 2 cards like this, removing the remaining 4 cards from the game. Then taking the level 1 cards, giving those a shuffle as well. And we're going to place those out as well in a row of 5 cards, but in this case, anytime that a duplicate card comes out, it will be stacked on top of a previously placed card so that there are 5 different level 1 goods out at any given time. And the rest of those cards will get placed here as a draw deck, so I'm going to fill in from here like this. And in this case, you will see that we do have 2 sheeps. Everything else right now is just 1 of each kind. And then finally, to finish setting up the marketplace, we have to place out the resource cards. And for the solo game, we will be using 3 wood, 2 wheat, 2 clay, 2 stone, and 1 cotton. And those will get placed out like this. To finish setup, there are 2 other things, or 2 last steps that need to be taken. First, the point cards, all of these are worth 1 point, will be placed out like here. And then there are these sort of seed funding or sort of starting money cards. For the solo mode, we will start with the 3 gold starting card or seed money card, and I'll just set that off down here at the bottom. That's going to be a one-use thing that we spend sort of at the beginning of the game, and then it's gone from that point on. And with that, we are all set up to play the game. Firm with Brownies is going to play out over a series of rounds, and during those rounds, we will be gathering resources, spending resources, or using resources to make goods, and then using those goods or selling those goods to either have money that we can spend on other things or to use those resources themselves to build buildings that will allow us to do more of this resource gathering, goods building, goods selling, and so on, ultimately to score points. And in order to win the solo game, we have to score at least 10 points by the end of the game. And points are going to come from these points that are printed on the building cards, as well as any victory point cards that we get by selling certain goods at certain buildings through the gameplay. Now, the game does come with a variety of player aids. I'm just going to show them to you real quickly. They are all in Japanese, so I'm not really going to make use of them during the game, just because most of you who are watching this probably don't speak, especially don't read Japanese. But if you really want to be super, super careful about what you're doing, this is a list of all of the different buildings in the game, so you know sort of what to expect. I don't really pay that much attention to this. I sort of play tactically by what's out on this board, but I just wanted to show you that that's in there. In addition, each player gets one of these player aids. This side is going to sort of walk through what happens on a given round or on a given turn. And on the other side is kind of an interesting map I might leave this out up here just so you can follow along as I play, but this is a map of how the different resources turn into goods and how the different goods turn into sort of fancier goods so that we can keep track of what we need to get what we need to get. So, for example, all of the black arrows just means that we need to spend that thing to get the next thing at the end of the arrow. The green arrows tell me that we don't actually have to spend the thing to get it, we only have to have it, and we can just basically show it or reveal it to get that good. And this one red arrow over here means we need 2 of that specific good to get that next level. So I'm just going to put this out here. And again, if it's helpful, we can refer to it as we play, but I probably won't pay too much attention to it because I sort of, as I said, like to play tactically based on what's already on the screen for me. I did mention on the other side of this, it shows a sort of walkthrough of the different things that you do on a turn or on a round. But again, because it's all in Japanese, it doesn't really mean anything for me to show it to you, so I'm simply going to walk you through how the game plays. And at the start of every round, the first thing we're going to do is refill the market. If there are any empty spaces, we will fill those holes from the appropriate deck. The resources don't ever get refilled, except that when you use a resource, it immediately goes back into the market. This row has nothing to refill, but as we use these cards, they will go into discard. And at the beginning of any round, when we are filling things in, if there are no cards here, we will shuffle the discard pile and put that here and then refill from there. So basically, these are going to be once per round usable kinds of things, but in the next round, they will sort of reset and go back into their positions. But all of that will become a little bit clearer as I get into gameplay. So after refilling the market, I'm then going to take my turn. And on my turn, I can choose to do one of 2 actions. And that's either going to be a production action or a sort of buying and selling or trading action. And a production action is meaning that I'm going to be spending either the resources or goods in my hands to purchase or to get other cards out in the marketplace. And the way that works is whatever is printed in this top right corner. So for example, to make this cloth, I'm going to need some thread. So I would discard whatever it shows in this corner, and then I will be able to take that card into my hand. It's worth mentioning that we can only ever have a maximum of 7 cards in our hand at one time. And I mentioned before that some of these things don't require you to discard a card. If you see a card shaped like this cow right here, that means simply by having that card in my hand, I can take this card as my production action. I don't need to spend the cow. I just have to have the cow in order to get the milk. And likewise, if I already have a fishing pole, I don't need to throw the fishing pole away to get a fish. I can simply use the fishing pole to catch a fish. Otherwise, I guess I'm bashing the fish over the head with a rock. So that is the first possibility, spending resources as printed in the top right corner in order to take a card that I'm paying for. The other option is that sort of trading or buying and selling in action. And the way that's going to work is I'm going to spend cards from my hand. In this case, this card is just money, 3 coins. But in any other case, you will see that at the bottom of the card, it shows both the icon for that card plus some amount of money. So I can sell this card for that much money and then use that much money to buy other cards if I'm taking that sort of buying and selling action. And the way that works is one side of that action needs to be a single card. So I can either sell one card and buy as many cards as I want to using the money that I've gotten from selling the one card, or I can sell multiple cards and buy one card using the total amount of money from all of those cards. So you'll see that a lot of these bigger buildings up here, so far we don't have any of the huge ones, but the price of those things is always going to be up in the left-hand corner. And most of the things that we're selling, aside from some of the nicer level 2 goods, will only have values from between like 1 and 6 or 1 and 5 if we're looking at these first 2 rows. So in order to buy something with an 8 or even higher value cost, I'm going to have to be selling multiple things, but then I can only buy one card. So again, I can either sell one card and buy many cards, or sell many cards and buy one card. In addition to taking my own action, meaning either a production action or a selling and buying action, I can also take what's called a Brownies action. And you'll see that in each of these buildings, there are these cute little brownies that sort of live in there or work in there and do whatever the building is good for. So in this case, this building will convert clay into bricks. And this action that's printed on this card is a free action. This doesn't count as my action because the brownies are doing it. It's a brownies action, which means if I have previously built this building into my tableau on a previous turn, I can make use of that action without using my own action for that turn. So that's going to be a really important sort of engine building, tableau building step of this game if I do want to score enough points at the end of the game. And then after I've taken my one action and as many brownie actions as I can afford to pay for and want to take, that will be the end of the round. And in the solo game, there's one extra step at the end of every round. At the end of every round in a solo game, we have to discard or remove one building from the game. And I can choose to either remove one of the buildings that's out here on the marketplace or the top card of the building deck. So that's basically going to be our timer. When this deck is completely gone, it will trigger the end of the game, and I need to have scored at least 10 points by the end of that game. So that's basically it for how the game plays. Let's go ahead and get into gameplay, and hopefully if you have any confusions, they will sort of go away as I get into play. And again, aside from the randomness of these two rows here, these 5 buildings are the same starting buildings every game. And I always start with 3 coins, so the start of the game is always somewhat similar, except that these things are special. Because it's worth mentioning, and I didn't really talk about this, for example, if I build this building here that turns clay into brick, right now I couldn't use it because there is no brick available in the marketplace. And that's one final thing that's special for the solo game that I should mention here before getting into gameplay, is that instead of taking action on my turn, and means instead of taking my action or any brownies actions, I can clear this entire blue row, this entire level 1 goods row, and refresh it for the next turn so that I have different things available to me that might work better with the buildings that I've built. And you'll see that might come into play quite a bit in the solo game. However, in any case, I notice here that this spinning mill will turn sheep's wool into thread. And I've got 2 sheep available to me. Now, it's worth noting that I can only ever use each building once per turn. So I couldn't have 2 sheep making 2 thread every turn, but I do have a sheep here, I do have a thread here, but that takes wood. And wood takes a piece of wood, timber, and that takes 2 pieces of wood to make. So that's going to take a little bit of time to get to. I do see that if I buy some charcoal, I could use that to make the brick factory, but again, there's no bricks to build anyway, and both of these buildings require bricks, so right now that's not helpful at all. So, yeah, I've never done a sheep strategy before. Let's focus on sheep. So I'm going to spend these 3 coins, and I'm going to take, I need timber there, so I'm going to take 2 wood. Those are each costing 1 coin each. 2 wood, and because the sheep's going to take wood and wheat, I will take then 1 wheat. And that then is the end of my turn. So I do need to pick something to get rid of. And right now, because I'm focused on sheep, means I'm focused on thread, which means I'm focused on cloth. I'm not necessarily focused on other things. Thread will also get me a fishing pole, which potentially catches fish, which means all of my sort of wood and wheat is going there. Actually, if I already have this sheep, no, that's fine. I'm going to get rid of this wheat, turning it into sort of grain building. We start the next round, we will refresh. So this goes there. We've got a new card, the tannery, which allows me to turn cows into leather. But this turn, I'm going to spend those 2 wood. And again, when we spend resources, they go right back into the market in order to buy that timber, as I said I would before. Then, let's keep this an animal-focused game. So I might stick with that tannery. To build that, I need stone. To build this, I need stone. I don't really care about the charcoal right now. So I'm going to get rid of that building. We'll place out a new building, the textile factory. This is one that I definitely need because sheep makes thread and thread makes cloth. And eventually I might find a building that I can sell cloth to make points. So that's going to be super important. And that's going to take more wood eventually. We refill here. Oh, we got another thread, which is great for me. And then there's our bricks that we needed. But I'm going to go ahead right now and spend my timber to build the spinning mill so that I have it moving forward. And, that takes wood. I don't have any buildings for wood yet. You know what? I don't really care about this charcoal so much. We'll do that. We'll feed these both back in. A cheese factory that lets me sell barrels and milk for 3 points, but we don't have any barrels because it's not in the 5 cards we placed out this game, so that's going to be useless to me. This castle is amazing, but it costs super stuff. I need to use a stone wall, which costs both this sort of stone, I forget the name of it, it'll come out in a minute, but this sort of higher level stone and some clay to build. It also requires the timber that we've seen already, and it also requires this sort of steel bar, which is also a step-by-step process to get to. So, actually, we can't build that. We don't have any steel in this game. That's one of the level 2 goods that we don't have the ability to make. So both of those are useless in this game. So that's nice for me because that means there's 2 buildings that I can discard without having any problems when we get to the end of a given round. Then I'm going to simply take 1 wood this turn because I know with this wood, the next turn I can get a sheep, which gets me thread, and then I can potentially either use the thread to do things or use the thread as money to buy other things. So that works for me. Discard the cheese factory, placing out this mansion. Now we've got wood, brick, and whatever that stone, concrete maybe, is. That one I can build, so that would be nice to get me 3 points. Then, my turn, I spend the wood and the wheat to pick up a sheep. And then we're going to use this brownie action for free to use my sheep to make some thread without losing that sheep, which is great. So this is sort of a cash cow, and cash sheep in this case, I guess. Castle gets discarded because we can't build it anyway. And we place out the masonry, which is going to use that concrete and clay to build walls. Which might be nice to have, but so far the only thing that needed a wall that I really wanted was that castle, and I couldn't build it anyway because we didn't have steel. Then, back to me. I need to. Now, I could convert this into cloth, or there's no wood out here, which is a problem. And I can't have more than 1 cloth at a time anyway. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to use my brownies action for free to make this sheep make more thread. And then my action this turn is going to be selling that thread for $3 to get 2 wood, because I know 2 wood will turn into a timber. I have to hope and pray that that comes out. And then, I need something else. Well, I'm going to need brick to do that. And if I can clear that brick out to make that later, that means an extra empty hole here for more stuff to come out. So we're going to wait on that. But my 3rd coin from the thread that I just sold will be to buy some clay. That's the end of the round. And I don't care about this masonry. The next building coming out is the sawmill, which is going to let me make more of those timber, which could be nice, but again, this takes more of that concrete that I have none of. Oh, and there's a concrete, and the name they give it here is cut stone. All right, then I can't make any wood this turn. There is no thread for me to make. I want to get to wood here, but there isn't any. And I think for right now, I'm simply going to, I'm just going to turn a clay into brick for this turn. We need to get rid of something else. Don't really care about the quarry. What's this? Ironworks. All right, so here we go. Charcoal and stone to make steel, but we don't have steel in this game, so that's an easy to get rid of card. we place out, flour. I don't need flour, I need timber. And I think this is the time when I'm going to make the decision that instead of taking a turn, I'm going to wipe this row because I really need some timber to come out and some other stuff to come out, which means it's the end of the round. I will get rid of that one because it's useless to me. Placing out another building like that. And this one's going to let me go fishing as a free action. It's a fishing pond. And then we place 5 new cards or more. We'll see if they stack up. 1, yep, there's 2 cows, a brick, 2 bricks, a charcoal, a cut stone, and yay, timber. Okay. Then this turn is simply going to be me spending 2 wood to get timber. And I'm going to say I don't care about fishing. Yeah, maybe I don't care about fishing. All right, then we've got cattle ranch. This lets me get free cattle using wheat and clay. And then this is more flour that I don't need, but that's okay because I'm going to then use this board to get the textile factory. And then I'm going to use the textile factory to turn this thread into a cloth, like that. So you see now this won't come back here until after I've either used it to buy something or I've used it to activate some building that I don't have yet. I don't think I'm going to be focused on getting extra wood this game, so that can go away. We've got a fish shop that simply sells 1 fish for 1 point. And the bread factory that's going to allow me to make bread, but we don't have any bread, so that's an easy throwaway. Then, I don't have any thread to use to get the sheep for anything. And I could use the brick to build the bread factory. No, it'll get me a point, but I can't ever use it because we don't have bread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the cloth, because I can easily get it back with those 2 buildings and my sheep. That gets me 6 coins. And with those 6 coins, I'm going to buy a cow. And I'm going to take some stone. Because there's a lot of stuff that I can use the stone for if I make cut stone. Yes, then this is useless, it goes away. We put out the abattoir, which lets me slaughter either a sheep or a cow for meat. But we don't have meat in this game anyway. This refreshes to here. And the problem is none of this is going away. And I need for it to or I don't get thread. So I can use a cow to get milk. I can use a stone to get cut stone. Yeah, let me do that. I'm going to use a stone to get cut stone and then we might refresh on the next round. So what can I get rid of? We don't have any meat. So that goes out. Ooh, milk for a point. Now that I've got a cow, that would be nice to have. And I've already got bricks, so that's good. Let's refill. That goes there is charcoal. Now we're going to reshuffle the discards. Like that. And there's another timber, which is nice to have. But not particularly, actually. I am going to, as expected, get rid of all of this stuff. Then, this milk would be nice to have. I don't care about selling fish, let's say that. So we've got the next card that comes out. Ooh, there's the dairy. I need that dairy because that lets me make free milk every turn. And if I get the dairy and the milk shop, that's a point generator right there. So I like it. Let's put out 5 cards here. Thread, timber, another thread. Good, that's great for us. Sheep, fish, and flour. Then I'm going to spend the stone for my turn to take the dairy. And then I'm going to use my sheep for free to get a thread. I will use that thread to buy some cloth, or make some cloth, I guess. Then the cow, because I've got a dairy and it's automatic, gets me a milk as well. Like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we're okay. I need to throw something away. At this point, I kind of like all of them, but I don't think I'm making any more cows. So let's put the cattle ranch away, and we're going to put out a bar, which lets me use barrels and wheat to make points. We're not making any beer because we don't have any barrels. And the bakery, which lets me spend bread for points. I don't have any bread either. So those are both easy, trashable buildings. I'm going to, this turn, use the brick to build the milk shop, which then lets me use the milk instantly to get 1 point. Like that. I'll trash the bakery. We'll put out 2 more cards. The tailor, which lets me use cloth and thread for 2 points. That's amazing. And the market, which would let me spend a level 2 card, or really sell a level 2 card to use its coins to buy stuff. So it's a free shopping action, basically. Then, this turn I will already have this. For free, I might as well take this thread. And I need to work on building this tailor, which requires a wall. And the wall takes a stone and a clay. We don't have any, we don't have any stone available to us right now, so I can't build that one right now. So I'm going to hold off for a minute. My actual turn this time will be, I might as well take, no, you know what, getting this, no, but then it goes away. That's okay. We can refresh things if needed to be. I'm going to use the cow to get a free milk, for sure. Then, I'm going to use the cloth. This is my actual action, spending the cloth to get $6. With that 6, I will buy a timber for 5 and a clay for 1, like that. And then I will sell my milk as a free action to take 1 more point, like this. Then we can't do barrels, so that goes away. And we put out the shoe store. It needs leather and thread to make 3 points. That would be great. But I don't have any steel, so we can't build it anyway. Putting out 2 more cards here, a stone and a charcoal. Okay. Then I will use the cow to get the milk for free. And instead of getting a point this time, I'm trading the milk in for 4 coins to take 1 cut stone and 1 more regular stone. Hold on. 1 more regular stone. Then I don't know. I don't have steel, so that goes away. This refreshes like that, which gets me either 2 points for leather or steel at the accessory shop. I could use that to buy that and then turn my cow into leather at the end of the game, but we'll see what happens. Filling in this last hole with timber. Well, in any case, I'm going to spend the stone and the clay to build a wall. And then my own things that I can normally do. My sheep stuff's not working, but my cow will get milk and will instantly turn the milk into a point, like that. Discarding a building. I don't care about fish or extra market actions right now. So that goes out the restaurant. I don't have any bread or meat in this game, so that doesn't help me at all. That's that. Then I am going to use the wall to build the tailor shop. And then I might as well Yeah, I might as well use my cow to get a milk and my milk to get a point. Yes, then I don't have any bread or meat, so that can go away. We are putting out butcher with no meat. I don't have any. Sheep ranch lets me get more sheep, but that's not happening now. Then we've got one turn left, because there's only one card left here. And the problem is this. I need thread. Yeah, I'm going to use this turn to clear that market because I need thread. So that's that. We got to trash something. This plays out, which means this is the last round. The barrel factory, let's turn timber to barrel. We don't have any barrels. Come on, thread. There's my thread. Got lots of brick this turn. And a cow. All right, so this turn I have some options. I'm going to use the sheep to get a thread. That's my, oh no, that's not an action. That's free. Then for free, use that thread to get the cloth. Then for free, use the cloth and the thread to get 2 points. 1, 2. Then also for free, use the cow to get the milk. And use the milk. I haven't been cycling it, but you see every turn it comes back again, so it didn't really matter. Use the milk to get 1 more point, like that. And now I have a turn, but a turn does nothing for me because my wood. But I can spend multiple cards to buy one thing. So I'm going to spend the stone and the wood to get 6 coins. And use that 6 coins to build the barrel factory simply because it's worth 1 point. And that is the end of the game. We count up our points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then here, 8, 9, 10, whoops. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, beating my previous high score of 12. That is firm with brownies. So with that, that is the end of the game. I do like to take a look at components. I showed you the player aids at the start of the game. It's worth mentioning that they are just printed on like thin, flimsy magazine paper, so they're not the most sturdy of things, but you'll see in a minute when I show you the box for this game. It's real small and real compact, so I don't fault them for that because it fits everything nicely into a small package and doesn't take up a whole lot of space on the shelf. The artwork in this game is wonderful. I really love the way that everything, all of the illustrations look in this game. I mentioned in my intro that this is a remake of a game called Goodsmaker that was originally published or self-published by Shun Aya. And the reason I picked this copy up over that copy is the artwork and the illustrations in this game. I will quickly put up some pictures right now on the screen as I'm talking to show you what the original game looked like. But I do think that this game expands on that quite well, and I do really love the artwork in here. You can see all the goods pretty well, but I want to come up close here to show you the artwork on these cards because each of these buildings has a unique illustration, and I just love the artwork on these cards. It really looks like a really fun world. And you'll see coming soon, I'll have another video with another one of these Brownies games, and they have the same sort of cute characters and artwork. I'm a big fan of the artwork in this game. Now it is worth mentioning, and I did mention this up top, but I'll mention it again here. The solo rules come in the expansion box, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But the solo rules come in the expansion box, which means I also have a small expansion that comes with the game. And the expansion offers a couple more buildings here. Just quickly using level 1 building to spend money to buy only other, level 1 goods to buy only other level 1 goods. 2 wheat to get an automatic wheat, meaning you have the 2 wheat because these are card symbols. If you have 2 wheat, you always get a free wheat every turn, which is pretty cool. But in the solo game, there are only 2 wheat, so that doesn't really help. 3 coins lets you take the top card of the level 1 goods pile. You can buy a level 2 card. Timber and cloth for 3 points. I like that. Furniture shop is cool. The building firm lets you spend money to buy a building. The old wood factory lets you recycle barrels, turning them back into timber and a point. And the building supply store lets you spend brick and a stone wall to get 3 points. So that's that. The expansion also, and again, I don't think this works in the solo mode, but it comes with these cards, this sort of like home branch of your store. And this gives you 1 free additional either production action or buying and selling action once in the entire game. It's sort of an extra boost, extra action in 1 turn. So that's the expansion, but realistically, I bought the expansion because I needed the expansion to get the solo rules. Now quickly, let me show you the packaging for this game. The base game itself comes in this tiny little box like this. Very, very nice packaging, very heavy-duty box with just a card divider to fit 2 decks of cards, but everything fits really nicely in this box. And let me show you, because I think this is really cool. The expansion actually comes flat packed in a sort of plastic sleeve with those cards that I just showed you. And then inside that pack, you got a unbuilt box and this extra little unbuilt sleeve thing. And realistically, you can put the expansion stuff inside this little sleeve. Or, as I'm doing, it fits right inside the regular box on its own. You don't really need this, but it's kind of cool. You can keep the expansion stuff separate in this sleeve. That sleeve goes inside this bigger box that you had to build yourself that came in the expansion. And then this box fits inside the expansion box like that. And it holds everything really nicely and keeps it separate. So if you don't want to play with any of the expansion stuff and you don't want to have to figure out getting rid of it outside of the box every time you play, this is a really cool idea for a packaging. I'd love to see more publishers coming out with things like this that are flat pack, real thin, save on shipping, and then allows you to sort of fold it into a larger package that holds the base and the expansion. Really cool idea. 2 thumbs up from me on that. That's basically it for the components, the organizer, the box, whatever you have. Meet me back up top and I'll let you know what I think about the game itself. Welcome back. Here we go. Another game from Japan, another small box card game from Japan, and another one that I really, really, really enjoy. This one is just pure resource management, engine building goodness with very, very, very simple mechanisms that just play out in a really, really fulfilling puzzle of a game. So basically here you've got 2 actions. You can either spend cards as resources to sort of upgrade or build bigger things, or you can spend cards as money to buy bigger things. And those bigger things might be worth more money that you can spend on more things, or those bigger things might be things that you can sell at market for points in the game. You're also using these resources to build buildings that are worth points in the game, but ultimately it comes down to those 2 actions. Produce by using a resource to upgrade to something bigger, or shopping or trading so that you can sell something to buy other things in their place. But the next step, or the most important part of this game, is the engine building concept, and that is that one of the kinds of cards you can buy to add to your tableau are buildings. And these buildings are going to give you actions. And some of these actions are going to be the same as the produce actions or the sort of buy and sell actions that you'd normally be taking, except that because they're happening from the building, they're free for you to do and they don't count as your action. So as you're moving through the game, you're building more and more buildings that let you chain these actions for free and sort of get bigger and bigger and bigger turns as you're moving forward. And it's this sort of planning and connection of all these smaller actions into these cascading chains of actions that end up making the game feel as fulfilling and as fun to play as it is. And I really, really enjoy the simplicity of the either trade or buy using cards, either produce using cards or buy using cards. Small action that really does just keep growing and growing and growing into these long, powerful comboed turns at the end of the game, scoring points on buildings that you're building and scoring points on these sort of chains that lead to expensive goods that you then sell in your buildings at market for more points. And it's just a really cool sort of puzzle. It's a really interesting leveling up system of cards, and you can only have certain cards when they come to market, so you have to sort of make sure that you're sort of not just prioritizing one thing, but that you're sort of spreading out what you're able to do so that depending on what comes out at market, you can focus on those things and get those things done. And anyway, there's not a whole lot more than that to say because there's not a whole lot more than that to do in the game, but I just really love the way that it feels. This brings to mind things like Splendor or It's a Wonderful World or these kinds of very simple tableau building, engine building kind of resource management games, and I really enjoy this, and it comes in a really small package, which makes it even more fun because I can just pull it out and get a game in very quickly, carry it with me wherever I go and get a game in very quickly. Those are all good things to have. And also, the cool thing about the solo mode is you're only ever going to have 5 of those level 2 goods cards, which means that every time you play the game, the puzzle's going to be slightly different because you can't buy certain things because those cards aren't in the game. And because you can't buy those certain things, then certain buildings become meaningless and other buildings become super important. And you can't just keep focusing on the same strategy because you're going to have different cards that interact in different ways and score points in different ways. So you really have to sort of keep on your toes and make with these tactical and strategic decisions as you play the game every time. Now that said, I have played this a handful of times now, and in the base game, I think my lowest score was an 11, and now you saw my highest score was a 14. So I've never managed to lose the solo game. And now that just might be that I'm good at this kind of game. It might be that the solo mode is a little bit easy. But stop there, because in this box, there are actually 3 other solo modes in the game. Now I say 3 other solo modes, they play exactly the same way that this solo mode does, but the scoring and sort of end game goal conditions are completely different, or at least twisted in new, unique ways. And those 3 things are: the first one, and this is the one that twists things up the most and changes things the most and is probably the hardest of all of them. I've tried them all. This is probably the hardest. And that is you're focused on those high class goods, those level 2 goods. And the goal is, at the end of the game, you have to have 5 of those goods in your hand. And if you want a perfect victory, you have to have all 7 cards in your hand be those high class or level 2 goods. That sounds easy because you can easily sell things to get goods or trade things in to upgrade to those goods. And I should mention that in this version of the game, you don't just use 5 of the level 2 goods, you use all 9 of the level 2 goods. So you've got quite a group or quite a variety of what you can buy that you need to get 5 or 7 of. The problem that you have to remember, and that really what makes this game hard, and I can't wait to try it some more, is that, remember, your hand size is 7 cards. So using 7 cards or 7 slots in your hand, you have to find a way to get 5 or even a total 7 cards in your hand. So what that means is you really need to focus on chains, using those powers or using those free actions from the buildings to somehow cascade your way into a hand of these level 2 goods. Because if you start around with all level 2 goods, you're not going to get much done. You're going to be able to sell them a lot, because you sell them a lot, you get a lot of money, you can buy lots of little stuff. But that's the point. You got to be able to buy lots of little stuff and then in one turn use lots of free action to convert all those little stuff into big stuff. And that is a very big and very different challenge than the base game. I think so far my highest was a 2, maybe 3 cards in my hand at the end of the game. I am not good at this mode, and I'm very, very, very excited to try that mode out more. The next one is focused on buildings. The setup is basically the same as the regular game, except there are 5 specific level 2 goods that you're focused on, not all of them, I mean not random ones either. It's things like the wall and the steel and the sort of building materials ones. And the point of the game is still you have to score 10 points by the end of the game, but you can only score points based on the points of buildings and not on the point cards. And this is the easiest of the 3 variants that I've tried, at least in my experience so far, because I think I did finish this one with a 10 or an 11, yeah, I think an 11. And I did finish this one with a win. So it is the only one of the 3 variants that I have won. It does feel the most like the base game, but it does force you to focus on getting the goods that match the buildings that then build buildings. And it's a different sort of engine because you're trying to create different things to focus specifically on buildings. And then the third variant, the final variant, is focused on the point cards only. So you have to score a total of at least 6 points by the end of the game, but none of the buildings give you points. You can only score points on the point cards, which means now you're going to start with 5 of the level 2 goods, again, prescribed by the game, not random. But that's things like milk and fish and I think the yarn and the barrels and meat, because those are the things that you can trade in your buildings for points. There's ultimately those point cards. But now you got to focus on a different engine, because now you got to get an engine running that's only getting point cards. And now that I'm thinking about this, I can't actually remember if the building one was the one that I won or this one was actually the one that I won. But this was another interesting twist because, again, so many of the points in the base game come from those buildings, and this time they don't mean anything. So it's not really meaningful to build a building just to build a building, because it doesn't do anything for you unless you have that building that efficiently produces the goods, and then you have another building that efficiently turns those goods into points. So you've got the base game that you saw me play. You've got one focused on getting level 2 goods in your hand. You've got one focused on scoring only from buildings, and you've got one focused from only scoring, or you've got one that's focused on only scoring from the point cards. 4 different solo modes in this game, and I enjoy all 4 of them. This game is a ton of fun. If you like small card games, especially tableau building, engine building, resource management kinds of games, I strongly recommend that you check this one out. I did manage to pick this up very easily on Amazon Japan. They shipped to America. The shipping really wasn't all that bad. I combined it with another game. Definitely I recommend, if you're interested in this, definitely give it another look. Maybe pick up a copy for yourself. I hope that this video is helpful. If you enjoyed this video, as always, I do ask that you like, subscribe, and click the bell icon below, and I'll see you all next time. Thanks.